Hello everyone and welcome to Werven's World and welcome to my patch update for Rise of Industry. So 5.1 is out now and it brings a lot of improvements to the game and they really make the game much more playable. So I thought I would go over the patch notes and see what they do and kind of explain all the features that have been added to the game. So let's begin. The first addition is that of logistical permits. So let's say here in Brock I already bought a permit so that I can build here and I have my glass industry and then sell it to Brock. But I noticed that in Leaston, let's see if I can go there, they also want to have glass and I would like to deliver it there. Now in the previous version you would have to buy the entire permit, the building permit, for $5 million in order to be able to build anything here, including truck depots. So you couldn't establish any trade routes unless you had this full build permit. Now what you can do is you can purchase a logistical permit, which is a quarter of the price, so in this case 1.3 million, and that allows you to put logistical buildings in their area, but not any production buildings. So in this case I could buy this logistical permit, build a truck depot here, transport glass from here to here, and then deliver it to the commercial buildings. So this is a really nice addition. Secondly, they've added the much requested feature of choosing on which side of the road your trucks will drive. So as you can see now, my trucks drive on the left, but I live in a country where they drive on the right. So what I can do is go to settings, a gameplay, and then here truck orientation I can put on the right. Then if I press apply, then you can see that all the new trucks here are actually driving on the right. So these here are going through each other, but from now on all the trucks will drive on the right side of the road. So very nice addition as well. Next on the list is the fact that you can now toggle rotation of buildings with the scroll mouse button if you want. So let's say I want to build a building. Normally what you would have to do is press R in order to rotate it, but now you can use your scroll wheel in order to rotate it as well. However, before you can do that, you actually have to go to settings, gameplay, and then mouse wheel to rotate, and you have to put that on. Then they've added the option to allow product icons to open their recipe. So if you go to a plantation, like here the berry plantation, and I go to production, then I can just click on these products and it opens the recipe book and it sees how I produce actually water, for example, and how I produce berries, which is exactly here. So this is quite a nice option. What I really wish they would add though is something that they did very well in Project Aura, which is quite a nice game as well, is that now I could, for example, drag the berries here and then I can see what I can do with berries, so that I can know which buildings I need to build so that I know what to do with the berries. I hope they will add something like that in the future, but this is already quite nice. Do note that it only works in production. If I click on overview, it doesn't work at all. You have to be in the production tab in order to click on them and then it works. Next up there is the clone functionality. It says added building clone functionality to copy settings like the recipes and destinations of the chosen building. Now it says that you have to do left control and left click in eyedropper mode, but somehow for me that doesn't work. I actually need to hold shift. I'm not entirely sure why that is. In any case, let's say here this smelter is bringing glass to the hardware store here in this village, and I don't want to have to set everything manually all the time. So what I can do is I can just build a new glass work. And then I can click on this one, the duplicate button, and then if I hold shift in my case, I click on this one, and still holding shift, I click on this one. Then now if we go here, we can see that it's also delivering to the hardware store. So basically I copied all the settings of this smelter here. Then we have got some small things, like we got a new cursor that looks better, more fitting with the theme of the game. Yay, new mouse cursor. Then we have a demolish building confirmation pop-up. So let's say I built this thing here and then I want to demolish it here. Then if I click on it, it actually asks me whether I really want to do that. If you don't want to have this confirmation pop-up, you can turn it off here under gameplay, confirm demolish off. So that's just an extra functionality. Then we have some extra options in the custom game. So if you click on custom game, you can now set the world size to small, medium and large. Although large may lag, they say. I haven't actually tried it because I like to play the campaign, but that's now an option. They've now also added a button to disable alerts notification on buildings. For example, here, this one keeps being sometimes full, sometimes not. And I don't really need to know that it's kind of at capacity, and that's fine for me. So I don't need to get this warning all the time that it's sometimes full. So what I can do is I can just click on this one here, which turns off alerts, and then I will never hear from this building again. Related to that is something under the hood. They've now added a 1-day delay to alerts on buildings to prevent full capacity alert spam. So if your building is full, but only for less than a day, then you won't get spammed with pop-ups, unlike the previous version where you just had pop-ups all the time. So that basically gives your building 1-day chance to actually get rid of the stuff before you will get spammed. So that's quite nice. Then they've added some more functionality to the tab key. Beforehand, whenever we pressed tab, we basically got a lot of labels saying, well, which village, which resources and stuff like that. But now there's multiple levels. So now I turn it off with tab. Then if I click once, we can basically just see the settlements and region labels. Then we can see also the resource labels like coal, iron ore and fish here. And then if we press tab again, we see everything. We see all the industries, we see all the industries that they have here already, all the shops that they have and so on. So there's multiple levels, and I personally normally have this one on so that I can see the name of the cities. But when I need to know where a resource is, then you can just press tab once more and you can actually see all of them. Then they've added a scroll view to the wholesaler panel to allow visibility of all products available. So if we click on the wholesaler, you can see that you can just scroll through these products. I must admit, I don't actually remember what it looked like beforehand and whether you could scroll or not. But at least this looks very well organized and very clear what they are selling. So I only see this as improvement. Then there's a line that says that they have new event and alert icons to help with clarity. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I just really don't remember how it was previously, so I can't really comment on this. But then they added a nice functionality that actually pauses the game when you are here in the tech tree. So you don't need to manually pause. Whenever you click and are reading here, nothing happens on the background, which is really quite nice. Then we have an option to turn off these full storage alerts completely. So you can just go to settings, gameplay, and you can click here on full storage alert. You can click it off and then you will never hear from any places that have full storages again. So that's quite nice as well. The next thing is, it says they added functionality to check if a product is a component and raises its shop price by 10%, and then added functionality to check if a product is a raw resource and raises its shop price by 25%. I'm not sure what this means. Does this mean that the shop price, basically when we sell those things, is increased, so components and raw resources are worth more? Or when we buy certain things from the wholesaler? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, there's some underlying economy reason, I guess. But yeah, I can't unfortunately elaborate on this one. Next to additions, they've also been changing and improving some things. So the first thing that they mention in the patch notes is that they've reshuffled the tech tree a bit. Now this is really awesome. They've now put the plantation in tier 1. That means that we can immediately build cotton, which means we can then send it to the textile factory and bring fabrics to the commercial things. And that basically allows us for another start, because in the previous version we were kind of stuck with this paper mill or orchard start. And now there's some more options, because also they've made so that the glassworks is in tier 1, so we can start with a sand collector and then immediately have a glassworks and make glass like that. So there's a couple of more options. They've moved the orchard to tier 2, they've moved the livestock farm to tier 3 actually, and then there was the food factory, which they also moved down a little bit, which is logical because you couldn't really use it for anything anyway. Then they have changed the way demand works. So previously the formula of generating demand had, one of the things in the formula was that the population of the settlement was divided by 10,000. Now this is divided by 25,000. So the population growth has less of an effect on demand than it had before, or at least it grows less quickly with increasing population. Then there are some more small changes that I won't go into, but then they also adjusted the budget flow to reflect the last 30 days instead of the current months. But I already read in the forums that actually people don't tend to like it, and the developer is thinking of going back to actually monthly things instead of just a 30-day thing. So then one adjustment I kind of like is that they've adjusted the speed of dirt roads. So first, there wasn't really much reason to build these actual urban roads that much, because there wasn't that much of a difference. Now the dirt roads are actually 50% of the speed of the urban roads. So that means that it's actually worth building them sometimes. If trucks are taking a long time to get somewhere, then you can upgrade them with urban roads in order to make this a bit more efficient. They've also rebalanced the wholesaler, so now it actually sells stuff at double the market price instead of just at the market price. So you can't really sustain very well long term. For example, if you buy water from the wholesaler, that's so much more expensive than just producing it yourself, that in the long term is just not really viable. Then there are a couple of just minor things that not really worth talking about so much, but an important thing is that here in the options now you can set intersave interval, or autosave interval, sorry, and the standard one is at 5 minutes, which is maybe quite often, and the game, at least to me, is completely stable, so I think something like 60 minutes is probably fine, and then it doesn't interrupt your gameplay every 5 minutes, which is quite nice. Then another thing that they've actually adjusted, it's just hidden in the line somewhere, but it's quite a big change, is that they've removed truck upkeep for idle trucks so that only dispatched trucks will cost money. You might remember my tips for new players video where I said that, well, if you have a production facility, then be careful with how many trucks you assign, because idle trucks will cost you upkeep and that will make you lose money. However, now this upkeep cost is completely gone, and basically now the game just charges you for the amount of trucks that are actually dispatched to places, so there's no upkeep cost anymore. So these were the important things of the patch notes of this 5.1 patch. So there have been many additions, many of which are really nice. I think the game is in a much more playable state now, which is nice, and I really hope the developer continue improving on the game because it's turning out to be quite a promising one. So I hope you found this video useful, and see you next time.